Hi, my name is Tim Carter, and this is the IamCornate.org Apologetic and Outreach Ministry of Landmark Missionary Baptist Church in Jacksonville, Arkansas. We have a little series, I'm going to call it the FIG series, F-I-G, Facts in Genesis, just facts we can know. And then, of course, I will do some retrospection on things we have learned and studied. But one of the noteworthy things just in this fact, let's just say, the first fact we'd like to consider is the fact that the word create, bara, that's the sound of the Hebrew word bara. And the Bible speaks of Genesis 1:1, which I guess writing Genesis again was redundant since we're in Genesis. So it says that the heaven, singular, this is the English text, that God created in the beginning, God created the heaven, singular, and the earth. So in the beginning, that way some of you are starting to become very familiar with the basis of our outreach in apologetics. It's language based, so we notice things in the language that might be omitted. Those are called errors of omission, and it's often because of our cognitive and affective biases when we approach a text. It's called Preunderstanding. We've already been primed. All of us have. Religious primes are incalculable, the number of them. We've all got a little Egyptianity in us, if you will. That is, you can come out from Egypt, that concept, if you will, that mind of Egyptianity, cluttered and with all the fallible constructs of men, the traditions of men, and all that we've all experienced in different areas, different backgrounds, traditions, religions, creeds, cultures, whatever. But you can come out instantly, but it may take a lifetime. We may not even live long enough to, let's say, purge out all of the elements, those religious primes, if you will, those primers that people had primed us according to. So it says, in the beginning in Genesis 2:4, well, let me see if I can repair my handwriting here. Genesis 2:4 says, in the day. Now, one of these terms is the beginning. So in Genesis 1:1, and this is not really a Hebrew lesson, so this is and I don't write Hebrew, so I make my symbols that resemble very little. But also my English letters don't look like any published English text either. And then you have this word here. Sorry, I'll just make a little space for it. But what I was going to show you is that in Genesis 1:1, this here is in. This little term here functions as what we call the preposition in. So in beginning, and then in 2:4, it says that little word again, that little preposition there, in, and then it's yom. There we go. So it's yom, and that would help because now you have a contrast of modifiers which would help us. So bara in the beginning, bara in the day. In beginning is the manner of communicating that outside of time God created the heavens and the earth. Make sure I have my spelling correct. Yeah, it wouldn't matter anyway. If I made an error, we could correct it. So you see here we have created in the beginning. That's timeless. That is no time. So you say, well, he did it very quickly. No, it's quickly is a matter of time. There's no time. This modifies in beginning, because in John 1:1 we learn that the eternality of the Word always being in beginning, always being toward God, always being God, the eternal beingness, the eternal relationship, and the eternality of being God forbids any time in beginning according to the Genesis account in John 1:1. Later it says all things came to be, that is, without Christ did nothing come to be, that is, without the Logos. So in Genesis 1:1 the emphasis is Moses is saying without time, no time, because matter and space, so earth and heaven, would be matter and space, singular being inclusive of everything that we now are learning from observations through galactic telescope Hubble, I suppose we would describe it. Science, we're now learning that we can't calculate the stars, much more the galaxies now. So in the beginning, heaven, singular, space, earth, matter, so time then came into existence when space and matter were created. Then Genesis 2:4, in the day, this is the same word for time. It's also singular here, if you notice, referring to later in another book of the book of Moses, Exodus. It'll describe in the 6 days that God made the heavens and the earth. That's an action that takes place in time. This is in time. And it's really clear in the text, that is this word here in beginning and this word here in time. So someone, when the original Hebrew text, as Moses scripted that for us, very carefully demarcated these two. And this helps when you're building context for how do we deal with Genesis 1:2. There's a lot of energy for was means was. Okay, there's a lot of energy for came to be. That's good. And you can even find valid determinants in the Greek New Testament, koine, where it translates hayatha, the Cal perfect, third feminine singular, as come to be. Genomai of the New Testament, koine. Well, again, that still is not the context. The determinants for it, should it be was or come to be, are not equivalent to the context. So when people say the context, it really triggered my thinking, because I've heard great children of God, scholars, laborers in word and doctrine throughout the centuries say that God just created and it was all here. And the only way, the unsurpassed way of expressing that is in beginning, without time. Well, I've always marveled, what was the rationale for it? Well, just went to the text and I discovered their rationale. Well, then I noticed there were people advocating that in time, within the realm or sphere of time, the reality of time, which was presupposed by the presence of matter and space, without those time can't exist. So here now I found that rationale. I did. I don't mean for me. I don't mean people don't know it out there somewhere. That's why these are just facts you can find in Genesis. This is just information you can add to your repertoire of knowledge. You can know that in other videos we've covered the fact that a lot of people have forgotten there's a difference when we talk about the phenomenon of creation. For example, Adam was created within hours, and yet people want to talk about how old he is. And yes, we're very inconsistent because we don't seem to retain that knowledge, that there's a difference between how long Adam had existed and how old he was when it comes to the earth. And all of us are like that. We can jump to a conclusion so quickly that perhaps in our zeal to leap to the destination, we might have overlooked something as we were passing over. So this is just a good, fascinating fact in Genesis, that the same verb is modified in two different ways and referring to two different occasions. And then it gives me, for example, if I wanted to explain to someone, I wouldn't choose was necessarily, and I wouldn't have to choose come to be necessarily, nor would I have to say come to exist necessarily. I could actually use haya as referencing something that happened, and even could express that in English, and it came to happen. What came to happen? And I could explain that. So have a blessed day. This information is good. This is our FIG series, F-I-G, Facts in Genesis, FIG series. Enjoy this. It's just information. It's certainly not to add weight or diminish someone's well-invested constructs that are so prevalent out there today. I don't know what it is to want to deconstruct people's fallible constructs. All we do here at imkoine.org is define, document, and disclose any particular fallible elements, such as even those things that might be missing. So if this helps you understand better the text, that's our only objective, not better understand which side of a bad argument you might be on. So you have a blessed day and enjoy this reading.